before we get started with this week's episode, I have a very special announcement. My book is almost ready for the world. Okay, it's coming out in April. It'll be available on Amazon and beyond. But if you want to make sure that you are going to know when it hits the shelves, socialschool4edu.com/book. Make sure you're on my newsletter list. I will get you an email out. You can learn more about the book. It's called Social Media for Schools: Proven Storytelling Strategies and Ideas to Celebrate Your Students and Staff Without Losing Your Sanity. I talk about my journey into this role as being a school communicator and a champion for school storytellers all around the world. And I break down the strategies where you can implement awesome social media practices, you're going to get advice from people across the country of what's working in schools. This is really your guidebook. All right. I really want you to grab your copy and give one to the educator in your life that believes in storytelling through social media and all the positive we can do with it. Social Media for Schools, my book coming out. Again, check out my website, socialschool4edu.com/book. Let's get into this week's episode. Hey there, welcome to this special podcast episode. You've got me, Andrea Gribble, coming at you with a solo episode with a very vulnerable story of my own journey with mental health. You guys, this is an episode that I hope is helpful for you. If this speaks to you and you want to share this episode with others, I sure hope you do. I think anybody in education has seen the mental health crisis that our country is in. Frankly, maybe the world is facing right now. And I thought it was important that today I break down my journey, some of the statistics that are facing us in regards to how many people are struggling and how many people are not reaching out for help. Again, if you are having severe anxiety, depression, thoughts of self-harm, please reach out to a counselor. There are people that are there to help you. I'm not a professional, but today I really wanted to break down my journey. And so I intend to share that. But first, we're going to share a quick K-12 PR tip. All right, my K-12 PR tip is one thing to lift you up because this is kind of a serious topic today. But one of the things that is not going to cure any depression or anxiety, but it does totally help me have a good day, is taking a dance break or listening to your favorite music. You guys, for me, it's 80s music, 80s or 90s, because, I'm in 80s or 90s. I graduated in 1996. So I just love those 80s and 90s. It can really lift my mood, especially when you can belt out every word to every song. For me, it takes two to make a thing go right. Do you feel differently about me now that is the song? Anyways, I remember dancing to that song when I was a teen and early 20s. It pumps me up. So whatever go-to song, when you are feeling a lull, when you're feeling a block, when you feel like you need to take a little break, maybe get outside with your AirPods and listen to that music. Maybe get out and take a little dance break. I think that'll really help you get launched into a great day. And by the way, if you're listening to this podcast and you're not in school PR, it's okay. We talk a lot about school social media, and my website, socialschool4edu.com, has a lot of resources. But if you're here just to listen, let's get to our episode talking all about my mental health journey. Let's get started. Hey there, welcome to the podcast, and it's a unique little episode today. I am diving in and sharing behind the curtains with my own journey in mental health. And so this is going to be a little bit different than our normal episode. It is a solo episode, and I have had quite the journey in my own life. And sometimes you ask, like, God, why is this happening to me? And I was recently talking to a friend who has been through severe depression. And she wondered why did this happen to her? And she said, I just can't think, but I'm supposed to share this with other people so that they can help understand. And God can use me as a vessel to share with others so that others maybe don't feel so alone. So today I really wanted to get transparent and share my own journey in mental health, and maybe give you a few things to use that may help. But I am not a doctor. If you are facing, severe depression, anxiety, other thoughts of self-harm, please reach out to a professional. I really encourage you to take that step. You may feel like, I got it all together, I don't need help. Um, I needed help, and I'm so, so thankful that I reached out for help, because it has made all the difference. Whether you have supportive people around you or not that understand, there are people out there that can help you, whatever you choose, whatever path you choose to go down to get help. It's really important. So as we start, I mean, it's 2023. And I've got some recent stats on mental health. One is from Spring Health, from a blog in 2023 on workplace mental health. There's nearly 50 million American adults that report having a mental illness. And 50% of adults with mental illness don't receive any treatment. You guys, if you had an ailment, if you were sick with strep throat and needed antibiotics, of course you would go get medicine. But there are a lot of people fighting a mental illness and they are not getting treatment. Mental health actually costs more than cancer, diabetes, and chronic respiratory disease. There are 16.3 trillion is the estimated economic output loss due to mental health from 2011 to 2030. So that's an estimated amount, obviously, because it's going into the future. But the other thing is, globally, 1 in 7 adolescents between 10 and 19 are now dealing with a mental health condition. I frankly feel that's low, that only 1 in 7 are. Especially after the pandemic. And we've got some stats there as well. So I linked to these stats so you can take a look at them. But when you take a look at this, it's quite alarming. And when I go back to my story, so I was born in a small town. I am way a type A overachiever. 4.0 GPA in high school, 3.99, by the way, in college. I got that 1 A- in sociology. I'm so mad. But it's okay. I think things worked out. Okay. But very type A, very organized. I had my life planned out, you guys. I built my house when I was, 24 years old, got married, had the 2 kids, right, and was living just a great life. And I am very optimistic. I'm outgoing, right? I had a great career in corporate America. And, kind of my first bout, I guess, with mental health was when I went through my divorce, because I had this perfect life. And then in 2011, I was faced with a divorce. My daughters were 6 and 3. And I really didn't cope well through that at all. I just focused on taking care of everyone else. So I filled up my time just taking care of everybody else and focusing on my kids and focusing on my job and focusing on everything else and making sure everybody else was okay. When inside I probably wasn't okay, because that was a major shift, right? And then you fast forward a little bit into the end of 2013 as a single mom with 2 little girls. I was laid off from my job. I walked in to work one day and found out my job had been eliminated. I thought it was the end of the world. Obviously, it was not, because if that wouldn't have happened, we wouldn't be talking right now. So I'm very thankful for that now. But that was a major blow. And I was forced, to really look at, okay, what am I going to do now? I live in a small little town. There's only so many options for jobs around me. I had a really good paying job, so it was really challenging for me to go out and get hired at a high level, because I had 2 to 3 years of experience in a lot of different things, but not just one thing, where, you need that magic 5 to 7 years. Anyways, it was very difficult. And after the encouragement from a friend, I decided to start my own business doing social media and some marketing help for small businesses, which is awesome. But when you're getting started, you really don't make a lot of money. Now, I had money saved up, but I had a mortgage, right? I have a car payment and all of those things, still had to be paid every month. But I had a good nest egg of money to lean back on. But as the months wore on, you're still trying to figure things out. You're trying to figure out how to run a business and grow a business and make money, pay the bills, and it was hard. And in the middle of about July of that year, I started my business in January, and by July, I was realized that I really needed to sell my house because getting those payments made was very challenging. I built that house. It's a beautiful 5-bedroom house, vaulted ceilings and 10 acres of land. And gosh, I was proud of that house. My girls were both born in that house. That was a big, big change for me. And at that time, when I had to sell my house, I was really feeling a lot of self-doubt, really anxious. I actually reached out to my pastor and asked for some help because my mom could see that, mentally I just needed somebody to talk to, right? A professional. And Pastor Berg, said, well, I can't really offer counseling as your pastor, but here is a name of a counselor, Christian counselor that you could see. So I really didn't have much money. She graciously gave me a great deal of like $30 per session, which was still a lot for me because I really wasn't making any money, but I knew I had to get in. So I started some counseling, and I'd been through counseling when I was going through marriage stuff and divorce. So I'd been through a little bit of counseling, but it was a big step for me to step into counseling and sharing all of my feelings and fears and worries and my faith. And I'm so glad I stepped into that. But by mid-August, when I was set to actually move out of my house, move in with my parents part-time because my girls went to school in Wisconsin. So I was going to live with my parents when I had my girls. I was going to live in Minnesota with my boyfriend at the time. He's now my husband, back in Woodbury, Minnesota. They're about 90 minutes apart. It was a very uneasy time. And I remember distinctly one day, my husband now had a property that he was getting ready to sell, and we had to go over to the house and kind of take care of the yard. And we took all the kids, and the kids were pretty young yet. And oh my gosh, the house needed so much work in regards to the yard, just was totally grown up, like they hadn't mowed. And so I was so overwhelmed. And then you put, 4 kids, we've got 6 altogether, but 4 of them were in the vehicle with us, and they were loud, and I was overwhelmed. And that was really my first anxiety attack. And we had talked, my counselor and I had talked a little bit about whether I needed medication or not. And I am really kind of an anti-medication person. Not that I don't believe in it, but that I think there's a lot of options out there. Okay. So I was really trying to go through all of the things that I could control to avoid that. But I was crying and hyperventilating in my bathroom. And when I made the phone call to her on a Saturday and said, I think it's time, like, I can't handle this. And it was really hard. It was something that I talked a lot with Bill about as well, but it was that self-acceptance that I need help. I can't handle this on my own. I was having problems like getting out of bed and deciding what to make for breakfast. Like that was a major decision that I could not make. My brain was just off, and I wouldn't say at that point that I felt depression. Even though that could have been the feeling that I felt because I did have to sell my house and move in with my parents and all of that, but I really felt a lot more anxiety, which I would say I've felt a fair amount of that anxiety throughout my life because I'm such a type A person. So maybe you can relate to that. But I finally hit that wall where it was like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this anymore. I need some help. And so I did go on some medication. It helped. I went on a generic of Prozac. So it was fluoxetine, like 20 milligrams a day. Took that at night, and it really, really helped balance me out. At that same time, I was wondering, gosh, do I need to go back and get a job? Like, we were really financially in a low spot. I don't know really how we made it through. But we did. And by the way, we have really happy memories from that time. But it was hard. And I stayed on medication for about a year. And in that time, we got engaged and got married. And it's like, okay, I've got some stability now. My business was growing. And so I did decide to phase off of medication then in 2015. And I did so really successfully. And I'm like, whoo, made it through. And I am better now. And so it was like, whoo, got that taken care of. Um, and mental health is something that runs in my family. I think anxiety and depression in my family. So it was good to embrace that. I did share some of that journey with my kids and with other people. And that was powerful because I didn't understand mental health before I had an issue. Okay. I didn't really understand how people couldn't get it together, especially those famous people. Dude, like they have all the money in the world. How couldn't they be happy? How could they be depressed? How could they think they're not good enough and have anxiety, right? So you think all those things, and until you're in it, and I'm not famous and I'm not, any of those things, but still you think, gosh, how could they struggle like that? And then it happens to you and you're like, oh my gosh, I get it. I get it. It's like, it's not really controllable. It's something that's happening in your brain. So, again, I felt like I got through it and my life was going great. And so that was, a really, really good thing. Then fast forward, we hit the pandemic and I still did okay. But I can definitely see that the pandemic was very, very tough on my kids. And especially my oldest daughter, who is now a senior, Aaliyah. She was really struggling, with a lot of things, a lot of personal struggles. I mean, dealing with divorce when you're only 6 years old and having to deal through all those feelings, dealing with a couple households and stepbrothers and half brothers and all of the things that she has to deal with. And she kind of hit a wall last summer and was having some pretty severe anxiety attacks. She had been in counseling, which is awesome. Like, and she actually sees the same Christian counselor that I do, even though obviously it's, what is that? Not attorney client privilege, but like therapist client privilege. Like, I don't know what they talk about. And she doesn't know what I talk about with my therapist, but the therapy sessions happen over Zoom. So she doesn't have to drive anywhere. And it's been so, so helpful for her to be able to process her feelings, and to really be a better communicator. So it's been such a good fit. And I did ask her for permission to share a little bit of her story. And she's like, oh yeah, you can tell, tell your listeners, all my listeners out there. But I'm really proud of her. And I just think, if you have a child that is facing some mental health struggles, really to talk to them, and maybe, whether it's your school counselor first that they reach out to. But she's like, oh my gosh, I think everybody needs a therapist. Right. And so I love that she's 17 and feels that way. But she did get to a point where she had some anxiety attacks. And so then she's just like, she brought it up. It's like, I think I might need some medication. And I'm like, yes, I'm like, I hope that we can do it without, but if you feel like you need it for a period of time, it's okay. And I'm proud to report that she does take the 20 milligrams a day, and it has really helped balance her out. She is a straight A student. She just got accepted at University of Wisconsin-Madison. That has been her dream since she's been a little girl, to go to a big campus. Since we're from such a little town, I'm really excited because two of her best friends are going with her. But she's in a very good headspace and is able to manage all of the things with college courses and high school courses and working, 10 to 20 hours a week, applying for scholarships, all of that. So really proud of her. And then it came to me this fall, 2020 through 2022, the fall. End of September, I really started feeling down. Now, I don't know if some of my feelings are also seasonal, which I had talked with my business coach a little bit about, business life coach. And she said, you got laid off in November of 2013. And that time of year could be a trigger for you. And I never really thought of that. It could be. It could also be that the sun starts to go away. I live on a lake, so I love the summertime, and so that there could be some of that. So we started talking about, okay, I'm feeling, and this time it was more depression. So I was feeling more of a hole, like in my heart and throat and chest area. If that makes sense. I was just feeling down. It was really hard for me to concentrate. I was always thinking the worst. I was always worrying about things. And you guys, I was really mad at myself for feeling this way because my life was so good. I have a husband that adores me. I have 6 healthy, beautiful children that have great personalities and great futures ahead of them. I have 2 beautiful homes. I have a car that drives. I have a thriving business that I absolutely love. I have people that I love to work with. Like, there was nothing in my life as opposed to back in 2014 when my whole world was changing and I was moving in with my parents and I felt really low for that. That was like, that made sense why I was low. But now, why was I feeling this way? So I really started to dig back into counseling. We started talking about supplements, St. John's wort and vitamin B and vitamin D and vitamin C. Right now, as we talk, I've got one of those happy lights because maybe it's the exposure to the light that's down in the winter, or as the days start getting shorter, maybe that was something. I tried all of these things, and nothing was really working. I was feeling so bad. I was crying when I was around my kids, like they knew I wasn't right. And this time it just really felt like something was not right in my head. I also made some changes in my diet with sugar and caffeine and alcohol, all of those things. I made some major changes there. But nothing was working. And, after about 3 months of fighting that feeling, I finally went to the doctor and decided, okay, I just need to get on some medication again. I went on 20 milligrams again because that worked last time. And guess what happened, guys? Depression kind of went away. Anxiety went through the roof. The anxiety was so bad. And I was just like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? I'd wake up and my head would be racing. At 5 a.m., I'd be racing, and I was really bad until like noon. And if I could get past noon, then I'd be okay. But oh my God, my anxiety was so bad. It's like, how can this medication that worked for me last time? And by the way, I was way worse last time, I felt. So I had to go back to the doctor. She ended up upping my prescription but to 40 milligrams. And guess what? That worked. I'm not saying medication is for everybody, and I hope that you don't feel like I'm pushing that at all. I wish that I could have done and gotten better without it. But I know that there's no shame in saying that I take that. I take it at night. Really my only bad side effect, which just is weird, but I'm being an open book. Okay. So right now, my worst side effect is like really bad hot flash sweating at night. So when I'm sleeping, I wake up and I am like drenched. And so that's really bad. Like I have some acne like on my neck and on my chest that I have not normally had. So that is a very annoying thing, which, you know, I don't want to, hopefully it goes away as I get used to this. I've only been on the medication for about 3 months, only about a month on the, no, actually only about 2 months, and only a month on the 40 milligrams. So I'm hoping my body gets used to it. But that is a bad side effect that I am having right now. I am still eating well. It's actually, my weight is down a little bit where it was up a little bit last time I was on it. I'm not using it to stay down, but I think it's down just because I have these hot flashes, which by the way, I'm not going through menopause yet because they checked my hormones. I'm 44, almost 45, not going through menopause quite yet, but now I know what it's going to feel like when I do. So anyways, I am feeling so much better. I am excited about my job again. I am so loving my team, my family. I can shut work off at the end of the day. I can focus on spending time with friends. I am not constantly worried. And it has really, really helped. And I know and can feel in my brain that things are firing the right way. Because again, I felt just things were so off. And I guess the reason that I want to share my story is just if you feel off, but you shouldn't be because your life is great, your kids are great, your job is great, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't have something going on with your mental health. And it's not your fault, and you can't sometimes just fix it. If you're dealing with somebody that is experiencing some problems, and my husband has been so amazing. Bill was so great to talk to. I never felt self-harm things, but gosh, I was frustrated. And one of the best things was that he could say to me was, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. We got to get through this right now, but it's going to get better. And I had to stop getting mad at myself for feeling that way. And that was one of the hardest things. I was so mad and frustrated with myself. Why are you feeling this way? It made sense back in 2014. This doesn't make sense. What is wrong with you, Andrea? Get your crap together. That's what I was thinking and beating myself up about all the time. So I'm so glad that I wasn't afraid to talk to my husband. I wasn't even afraid to talk to my kids and be honest with them, which honestly, even being honest with them back in 2014 helped, because then when my daughter was going through it, she felt like she could talk to me about how she felt. That's another reason why I feel like I've gone through this, not only maybe to open up to all of you, but to open up to my kids and be able to understand. And so I'm thankful that I've gone through this, even though it's been really hard. And I'm not ashamed. And you shouldn't be ashamed either. I know that some people have reached out and be like, oh, it's just really helpful to see that somebody's successful, struggles too. And so if this can be your opening door to be like, yeah, I'm not okay, I need to talk to somebody. You can certainly reach out to me to ask questions, but I am not a professional. So I just really want to urge you, talk to your school counselor, talk to somebody that, you may have mental health counseling available through your insurance. But if not, and you have to pay for it, it's worth it. You're worth it. And things can get better with or without medication, right? You can go down this path. So I just want to kind of end with a few notes. And then next week, I'm actually going to invite Janet Switchkowski, who has done some real studies into workplace well-being. So not necessarily mental health, but workplace well-being, which has a close tie. And so I'm really excited to share some tangible things that maybe you can help implement at your school to help with this topic of mental health, well-being at school. But according to a separate survey conducted by the National Center for Health Statistics, 40% of Americans reported symptoms of anxiety and depression in 2020 compared to just 11% in 2019. In 1 year, it went from 11% to 40%. So undoubtedly, the pandemic played a huge role. But there's some difficulties in accessing care. So one of the most concerning findings is that only 28% of people were able to find the care they needed. 42% reported that they had no affordable options. 27% had lack of awareness about where to go. And 19% said there's no time to get treatment. You guys, there is time to get treatment, because think of all of the wasted time, the wasted worry. And a lot of counseling is online now. It's through Zoom. And so you can get help without even having to leave your house or leave your office. So I just really want to encourage you to reach out. I hope that the explanation of my experience with my own mental health has helped you. If you ever have more questions, I really want to be an open book to be able to share. Mental health struggles could happen for something you're going through right now. It could be dealing through something traumatic that happened to you as a child or in your adulthood. Or it could be that your life is fine and you're going through some things. Whatever it may be, you're not alone. There are, half of, nearly 50 million Americans report having a mental illness, and it's not something to be ashamed of. So thanks for listening. And again, next week, I'm going to have Janet join us for some tangible things that we could take action on to help assess and improve, workplace well-being around us. And so again, I'm at Andrea Gribble. You can reach out to me via email, andrea@socialschoolforedu.com. And I have some of the statistics that I talked about in today's episode in the show notes. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for embracing me and letting me be vulnerable. I felt very comfortable sharing with you. And I do think it's important that we all tell our stories, because you never know when it's going to help that one person that really, really needs your help. So thanks, everybody. Keep telling those stories. Bye-bye.